Hello, welcome to Gemini Star Spiritual Wellness. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well and having a good day. And I'm excited to be here with you again today for another video. Today's video, I'm going to do kind of a second part to the video I did before this. So if you did not see the video I just posted recently on Starseeds and my experience with the Arcturians, then I would suggest you go back and watch it because I'm not going to recover that information. Basically going to you get right back into where I left off. It was just too much information for one video. I was trying to keep it from being too long, and I was trying to keep it a reasonable length. So that's why I decided to split it up because there's just so much experiences that have happened. So basically, quick recap of what a star seed is. So a star seed is somebody that's got a human body, but their soul is from the galactic star races, the benevolent galactic star races. So I'm not talking about the negative oriented races, talking about the benevolent races that are here to help us and assist. And so there's a whole bunch of different star systems that are helping us, star races, the Sirians, the Lyrans, the Alpha Centauri, you've got the Blue Avians, you've got the Ryans, you've got Palladians and Andromedans and Arcturians. So there's a whole bunch of them that are basically assisting. And there's also councils. So there's different space councils of different groups of them that are also working together to assist Earth at this time. So basically that's what it is. And you've got your soul is from another place, from another star system, but your body's human. And then you get basically turned on, like in my case, or like the light bulb, like switch goes off and you start figuring this out. So but the reason why they did the star seeds is because they're not allowed to directly intervene with our planet. So there's laws in place where they just can't come down and basically take over the affairs of our planet and help us to transition into the fifth dimensional Earth. With just they can't do it for us is basically what I'm saying is we have to do it ourselves. And so they have to have a hands-off approach. So they wanted to help, but they couldn't help directly and intervene. So the star seeds was a good way to do that. So there's millions of star seeds on the planet from all those different races, and they're basically here and getting turned on as they start going through their ascension process to a certain mission. And part of that mission, and everyone's mission is going to be a little different, of course, but the collective mission basically is to help us to transition into that higher vibrational Earth, that going into the five-dimensional Earth. And that's a lot of work. That's, you jump up dimensions. So basically, we're here to assist with that. So basically, uplift the vibration of the planet. And right now, where there's so much energy coming from the sun that it's just slamming the planet, and it's really uplifting our vibration in a fast, intense way. But also to help with the consciousness. So as the vibration of the planet lifts, the consciousness of the collective on the planet will lift and grow as well. And so we are here as star seeds to help with that process. And also things like basically help with the energy of the planet, like the 5D grid and getting that established. And so we're basically here to assist with that transition. So that's why they started the star seeds, because they can't intervene. And I have a feeling that star seeds have always kind of been coming and going off the planet. That's just my personal belief from what I've read and, basically my experiences. But I feel like in the last couple decades, it's really increased with them coming to Earth because, we're making that transition now. So we needed to be on the Earth at this time. So quite fascinating. For me personally, I had no clue. I never even heard the word starseed until about 2015. So I had no idea about any of this. And even though I was a psychic medium growing up, my interactions with entities was purely it was purely people who have passed to the other side. That was my main bulk of experiences at that time frame. Growing up and into my teenage years, and in those decades leading up to 2015. And then also I had not happy experiences with negative oriented beings, especially in my teenage years. So that wasn't pleasant, but those are the two type of entities that I really had experiences with. So I had no experience with galactics, never even heard of the term star seeds or anything like that. and higher dimensional beings. I had no experiences with them. So this was a whole new world for me, and you can imagine it pretty much fried my brains when it started happening to me, because I had no idea what to do with it. It was just, I never experienced anything like it, and it really took me a while to kind of come to terms with it and wrap my head around what was going on. So my first contact, and I won't get deeply into that because I explained it in the other video, but my first contact with the Arcturians was in 2015. And one thing I forgot to mention, in the very first time they reached out to me and I had an interaction with them, was they did tell me, and I don't know why I forgot this in the last video. I just totally forgot to say this, and I realized after I posted the video, so I want to add it today. But my very first interaction with them, they told me, they said, "What you think is reality isn't." But you think it's reality because it's all you've ever known consciously, but it's not. And they said that, they said that I'm living in a 3D matrix. And that's exactly what they called it, word for word, 3D matrix. And I thought, that's interesting. And this was a new concept to me, didn't know anything about this, never heard of this before. And that was my very first interaction. And since then, they just started teaching me different concepts. And I explained some of them in a previous video, but and it seemed like they got more intense, like the interactions got more intense as time went on. So, then I had a unique experience with, a friend of mine's husband that I had never met before, and this kinda goes back to what they kept addressing me. So every time I noticed that every time the Arcturians interacted with me, they addressed me as commander. And I started having a lot of visions of being on a spaceship, like being on the bridge, I guess, the control room of the spaceship, and giving orders. And, you could tell I was the person in charge. And then they kept telling me, calling me commander. So I started putting two to together and started figuring, okay, so that's my title or my rank. And I'm in the military running spaceships, so, in charge of spaceships, and I'm a commander. And that's why they keep calling me that. And they wouldn't call me by my name. They always called me commander, which was interesting. So I had an experience with a person that kind of backs this up. So while this is going on, I'm having the visions or call me commander, and I'm starting to piece it together that that's what my situation is for me. I met a friend of mine, a friend of mine, her husband, and I had never met him before this point. Never saw him before. I knew he existed because she talked about him, but I didn't know. I never had any interactions, never saw him or anything. So one day they came to my workplace and I was in my office and they were both there and she wanted to talk to me and he just happened to be with her. And when he stood in the doorway, and it was really strange, as he stood in the doorway of my office, him and I looked at each other. And it was weird because we recognized each other. And he told me he told me that he recognized me. I looked familiar to him, and I had the exact same reaction. So it's like, I know this person, even though I never saw him before, in this lifetime, didn't know him. And then after that experience, he said that because he was starting to go through his spiritual ascension and he was starting to have experiences as well. And he told me that he had an experience that he had like a vision of him and I in the military as soldiers together using very high galactic technology. And I was like showing him how to use the technology. And I just thought that was really cool. So that kind of like backed up what, I was already, experiencing with the Arcturians. I was like, okay, so I'm on the right track about the military and about me, that's my rank, which I just find interesting. So I thought that was interesting. I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I don't want to miss anything today, like I did in last video. So probably I want to say these next two experiences happened within a few months of each other, and they were very profound. And it was about um, I'm trying to think what year it was. It was 2022, I want to say, or 21. I want to say it was in that time frame. I can't remember exactly. It's been a couple years. But it was very profound, and they both happened this spring. One happened in March and one happened like in May. So March of that year, um, they basically showed up to me and they said that they said that they were coming to Earth, and they said soon the world will see, well, how can I say this? They said they were coming to Earth, and they told me that the world would soon see me in my true form. And when they said that, this is so crazy to explain, but when they said that, they showed me myself in my true form. So I'm like standing there in this vision, and I see standing next to me is me. So I'm looking at myself outside of myself, like third person, and I saw me in my true form. And what's interesting is if you look up Arcturians, they're often like shown as having blue skin and no hair, and that's what they look like. But that's not what they showed me. It was me, and I had like different clothing on, and it's like I remember like my hair was like I had no gray in my hair, and it was longer than what it is now, and it was like a darker kind of brown. And my skin, though, I remember my skin looked like porcelain. It's like perfect, like a porcelain doll. I had no wrinkles, nothing on my skin. And I was, like normal size, and I had like this dress on that looked like something from ancient Greece, I guess is the best way to describe it, with this golden type bodice on. And it was a long dress. And at first, I didn't quite, when I got that vision, I didn't quite understand what they meant by me in my true form. But over time, I started to figure out that what they were showing me was my higher dimensional self. And I thought that was really interesting. So, they like, yeah, we're coming, and they're showing me like, spaceships, they're coming, they're on their way. And then they showed me in my true form. And, that was pretty much the end. Basically, they were telling me to get ready, that they're coming. And I thought that was unique. And one thing that was unique was when I saw myself in the true form, then he showed me that I had like this blue light coming from my eyes. So every time I've seen them, they have like I don't see them in that blue form that they show them on the internet. Sometimes every time I've seen them, they've either had a light body, which I'll get into that with another experience, and or they look kind of human. So maybe they're taking on that form so because it's more relatable to me. I don't know, but their eyes are like, they would have this light blue light coming from their eyes. It looked like very pale blue, not real dark, but very pale blue. And I noticed when I looked at myself, when they showed me my true form, I had that same light coming from my eyes. So that was very interesting. So I just thought, okay, that's pretty cool. What else are you gonna say? And then a couple months later, they came back again, and they're like, well, this time we want you to prepare for our arrival. And I was like, okay, prepare for the arrival. So they showed me people running around, kind of being like afraid and in panic. And this one guy, I remember in the vision, I had this one guy fell down in front of me, and I think he was having a heart attack or something. And I put my hand over his heart, and like this blue beam of light came out of the palm of my hand and went into his heart and basically stopped whatever was happening to him. So I guess, their people were kind of panicked, they were showing me that, but they showed me the next thing I know, I'm in this field, and there's some trees, but they're far away. I'm in this field. It's really open, and one of their ships is going over me, and it's like just above the tree line. And I can't, I mean, this thing was massive. It was just completely massive. And it was shaped kind of like a triangle shape. And the point of it was coming right over my head, and and it didn't really make noise. It was extremely quiet for as large as it was, but it was massive, like football sizes match, football field sizes massive. And it came over, and it was black, and it came over me. And then it came to like a certain point, and then like, about halfway, through halfway under the ship, and then, a blue beam of light came down. And so I was like, okay, prepare for their arrival. So that's what they told me. So that was two interesting experiences. And I was continuing to have experiences like, being on a spaceship, things like that happening all while this is going on. But these are the more profound experiences. And those, like I'd have those little experiences on a regular, but these ones I want to share with you today are the ones that really were profound. Um, then there was the situation where there was another high level entity, and he was He came to me, and I knew he was one of them because he had the blue coming out of his eyes, but he looked human. He looked like a middle-aged human, white human male with blonde hair, blue eyes. That's what he looked like. So he was kind of putting me through, I was going through some kind of obstacle course. I don't know what it was, a spiritual obstacle course, and it was like an all night long process. And I remember him saying to me, he's like, after it was over, he's like, "You could have quit at any time. Why didn't you stop?" And I was like, "Well, because it was good for me to go through this." So consciously, I guess I was aware I needed to finish this, whatever test I was going through. And then he was seemed happy with that answer, and then the next thing I know, he changes into his true form in front of me. So he no longer looks human like I described. He goes into a light body. So and I recognized him, like I recognized his energy. And he was I knew right away that he was a higher dimensional, because there's Arcturians from all levels, like fifth dimension up to like the ninth dimension. And he was one of like probably the ninth, 10th dimension. He was high and he had a light body. So then when he transformed into a light body, he didn't have a physical body like we do. It was like you could see the outline of like a human shaped body, but he was pure energy. And I guess the best way to describe it is in that one movie that came out years ago called Knowing, the little boy goes into a spaceship with those light beams. That's what he looked like. That's what he looked like. So you could see kind of the features, like human-like type features, but you could kind of see through him because he was energy. So he was kind of a little bit on the translucent side. But the interesting thing is when he transformed, like I wasn't afraid because I recognized him. So I knew right away, I knew him and had, like a relationship with him. Maybe he was a friend, maybe he was a family member. I'm not quite sure, but I definitely recognized his energy and I knew, not to be afraid. And I recognized him and he told me his name. And he told me an earth name, which is quite interesting. I know this wasn't his real name, but he's like, you can call me Raymond. That's what he told me. I was like, "Okay, Raymond." But what was really profound about this experience is that he reached out to me with his little hand, his energetic body hand, light body hand. And when he touched my hand, it was like I felt it's like I felt complete love. It was like such a powerful feeling of unconditional love, just like swept all through me when he touched me with his hand. And it was such a lovely feeling. It was a wonderful feeling of love and peace and unconditional love. I mean, it's hard to describe it in earthly terms because it was something I really never felt before. So it was really hard, it's really hard to describe it, but that's the best way I can describe it. And it was overwhelming and then, we next thing I know, we're walking on this, like, bridge, and I see in it like a lake or some kind of water, a body of water, and it was at nighttime, and there's a city on the other side of the water, but I knew I wasn't, like, on Earth anymore. Like, this was not an Earth city because it looked like something from Star Wars, very futuristic, tall buildings, just imagine, like, sci-fi, when you see a futuristic city, that's what it looked like. And the bridge we were walking on looked like crystal. And you heard the term rainbow bridge. That's what it looked like. It had different colors in it, like a rainbow, but it looked like crystal. And we are walking on this bridge, and he said to me, he goes, "Well," he's like, "you've got some decisions that you have to make." He told me after I went through that process or that test or whatever I was going through. And I was like, okay, like what decisions? He's like, you have to make a decision, is what he told me. And I just remember thinking, okay, what's the decision? What's my options? And then that was it. And then it's like, boom, he was gone, vision was over. So that was a very unique experience. And what I really got from that was when he touched me, that was the most profound part. When he touched me and I felt that, that unconditional love and that love sweep through me. Um, so I'm just trying to see here. Okay. I'm reading my notes. So the next one I want to talk about is I have written down Hanger Bay. Got little bullet points here to remind me. So the next experience I want to share with you is this one's more recent. This one happened within like the last year. I'm in this, I'm above Earth, but I can see the Earth below us. So I'm like in the orbit of Earth in this huge mothership. I mean, this thing was huge. and I'm in the hangar bay of the ship. And there's like little think of it like in Star Wars when they're in the hangar bay and they've got the X-wing fighters all lined up there. That's kind of what this was. It was like a hangar bay and there was like little spaceships like fighter ships lined up in the hangar bay. Excuse me, get a drink. My voice is going. Mm, allergies. So it was like, they're lined up there in a hangar bay and it's massive, massive hangar bay and this huge, huge ship. And I saw these ships and they were showing me that they're like, get into the ship. So I get into the ship and I sit down in the ship and it was probably about as big as the size of a car. I would say it wasn't that big. So it was like a little fighter plane or something like that. So I get into the ship, and when I sit down, it's like it didn't have a seat belt like we have. It's kind of like I merged with the seat. So it kind of protected me that way. Instead of wearing a seat belt, it's kind of like it merged around me. And what was really cool about this ship was they were showing me that with their technology, that there was two options. You could operate the ship manually, like a steering wheel. It had a little steering wheel, and you could use that. But if you were spiritually advanced enough with your consciousness, you could merge with the consciousness, you could merge with the ship, with the consciousness, and you wouldn't have to use a steering wheel. Like what you thought is where the ship would go. So that's what happened. It's like the ship merged with my consciousness. And what I thought is like if I thought move forward, the ship would go forward, turn right, turn left. I mean, it basically followed my thoughts and I didn't even have to use like a steering wheel. So I thought that was really cool that they were showing me that you could merge with the technology consciously, and then that's how you could control the ship. So I just thought that was so cool. And then they were showing me about, and then and after that part, they were showing me about building a ship to stay in the orbit of Earth to kind of oversee Earth. So they were like building another ship outside this big mothership I was in to kind of be like a guardian of Earth and kind of watch over things if once this mothership has to leave. And that was just very interesting. Um, and then the last one I want to share with you was kind of going back to about the man with the heart with the coming out of my hand. um, there has been I was like in this city once again, very futuristic, looked like something from Star Wars type city, not a city that you would see on Earth at the current time. So I don't know if this is Earth in the future or if I was like in a different location and not on Earth, but it was definitely, I remember standing on the sidewalk outside this door and I'm looking down the street and it's definitely, they're showing me, it's definitely a different, and they were talking to me about it, a different place than where we're at here. Or it could be Earth in the future, like when we get to the 5D level, but it definitely was a futuristic city. And so inside, they were showing me that there was a handful of us working in this building, and basically people would come in and we were healing them. So they would come in with an ailment. So the one person that I was working on, they were showing me, he came in and he had like a problem with his knee. And so we went into a room, kind of like you would think like an examination room in a doctor's office, and there was like a table there, and he laid down on the table, and I basically using the technology that they have. So I was using some form of technology over his knee, but then I also would turn that off and just use myself, like use my own energy. And I was able to heal his knee like instantly. Like it just went from whatever was wrong with it to boom, it was completely healed within a few seconds. And I just thought that was really cool. So it's like, okay, maybe this is my job moving forward. I'm going to be a healer like that. So I just thought that was really cool. And so those are the big experiences I wanted to share with you that I thought were the most profound of what, and I mentioned some in a previous video that I'm not going to repeat here, but those are all the experiences at this point that I felt have been the most profound that I wanted to share with you. But I've also had other like other experiences with them where they're showing me, um, like recently I've been seeing having a lot of visions of people kind of panicked, about them here and trying to calm people down and and basically fighting against the negative oriented entities that were still on the planet and things like that. So they were kind of showing me that those kind of visions, but those ones were more not straightforward communication with telepathic, visual and audio. Those were more like fragments, like fragments of seeing fragments of this going on, and hearing it. And they're still telling me, but it wasn't as detailed as what I saw earlier that I mentioned in the longer experiences. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I just feel it's going to be really profound for people to know about star seeds and galactics going into the rest of this year and into 26. It's definitely going to be very relevant because disclosure is going to come out, more information is going to come out about them and about who they are and their existence. And I feel like it's important for people to start to know this information. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it interesting and entertaining, that I shared some of my experiences with you. And moving forward, as I get more downloads from them and more teachings and visions from them and information, I will share it with you moving forward. But I just wanted to get you caught up with the big experiences that I've had, or the most profound experiences I've had up to this point. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe, because if you like the video, it's going to shoot it out to more people on YouTube. And if you subscribe, then you'll be able to get you'll know when I put out new videos, and you'll be able to watch them. So please like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a good day. See you soon. Bye bye.